You're watching a series of videos where I'm researching, designing and building the NASA Vehicle Assembly Building in Minecraft. Last video, we made the framing in the high bay areas. This video, we make some exciting discoveries that enable us to get a lot more accurate. I found something pretty amazing. Google Street View goes inside some of the hallways in the transoms. This is a key milestone in the research process to ensure I can accurately recreate the internal components of the building. Let's have a look around, make some observations, and see what we can learn. We can get a good close-up of these brown doors and even a bit of a sneaky peek inside. It's interesting that there's a number here, 5A1, and I know that this is Tower A, and if I look down here, I can see some of the numbering. So here's 5B4, 5B5, and just through here I can see 5B6. Now I know that this is Tower B, so it would stand to reason that this is floor 5, Tower A, room 1. And if I look across the transfer aisle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they say something not quite right there, so there's still something to discover. But I'm pretty confident that that's what the numbering system means. Another observation we can make is a good close-up view of these elevators. Now it is a little bit hard to understand where exactly in the structure they are, but this is a good start to the understanding. We can get some sneak views into some of these side rooms to get an idea of what there must be in them. And these blue areas are labelled stairs. Now I've seen a lot of blue painted concrete, and every time I've seen it, it's always been directly underneath these tall white pillars. So that's a pretty strong case that those tall white pillars are all stairwells. So I spent a fair amount of time just looking around and taking everything in. And I realised that I'm actually looking down at the catwalk and it's not on the same level, which is quite strange to me, because if we come back down into the transfer aisle and we look up, it looks like we are at the level of the catwalk, but from above we're definitely looking down at it. Right, we can even see there's a ladder to go down here. So something's not quite adding up. Then something dawned on me. This is the diagram of the mobile launcher, which is the platform the rockets are constructed on and then driven out to the launch pads. ML level/elevation is the different levels of the umbilical tower on the mobile launcher. The platform elevation is the various inserts that are created in the high bays to work on each level of the rocket during assembly. And VAB floor level is the exact floor number and height of each floor in the VAB, which is massive to us. On this diagram, you can see that floor 5 is dropped lower to be at the same level as deck 0. But it also gives us complete specifications of exactly how high each floor is, down to fractional precision. To confirm that it was only floor 5 that was lowered, I created a chart based on the elevation of each of the floors. In this chart I could convert inches into meters, I could then meters into blocks, and then also work out the Y level in my various creative and survival worlds. Converting the inches to meters does not line up exactly with whole numbers, which is what we're using in Minecraft, but it's really close to 4 blocks per floor, which is what I had estimated, which I'm really happy because it means I don't have to change anything that I've done. As a bit of a side note, I think my favourite room label that I've found so far is room 5B1, where they've just given up and used a permanent marker here. I think that's great. Exploring the high bays, I made another key discovery. These red doors here were labelled elevators, and suddenly it was obvious that this is the elevator shaft and this is the back of the red doors that we were looking at up inside the transoms. Jumping across to the other high bay, we can see the elevator shaft here and here, which leads me to believe there are 2 main elevators per high bay. So I'm really just not happy with how well things are lining up in Minecraft. These rooms are just too squished. The high bay framing is uneven, and it's really not lining up at all with the vents at the top, because I'm starting to think about how I'll design the roof. So I spent a lot of time looking at the roof and looking at the structures here, and noticed that they lined up with the framing. So I created a diagram to try and understand what was going on. So at the top of this diagram, I've got the framing segments, and at the bottom I've got the roof segments, and I've kind of put that pattern of 5 vents in just so it's a bit easier to tell what's going on. So I know I've got 60 blocks width in Minecraft to work with, which actually divides really well up, and you can see 11 per segment fits well, and then the last 3 over here have to spread amongst 16, so it's reasonably close, and I think it will be pretty accurate moving forward. So this diagram from Moonport also shows 5.5 segments of framing, which leads me to believe that A, this is really accurate and can be used for understanding future parts of the design, and B, it's really important that I get all of these segments of framing correct. Okay, so here I've adjusted the spacing of all of the segments of the high bay framing, so they're now even. I've put in all of the roof segments and even adjusted where the vents are so they fit nicely in between. I've had to change the overall height of the building by a block because we're not quite at exactly 4 blocks per floor, but in Minecraft we're going to be 4 blocks per floor because we don't have much choice. Here I'm also looking at the spacing, and you can see I'm still kind of playing with where this high bay crane goes. So there's actually a crane that goes all the way across here, and then the same thing over here across the other 2 high bays. So if you think about it, what happens is all the way down here, sorry, I'll just need to jump down. So there's the transfer aisle crane that comes along here, and then up here there's the high bay cranes, and they can hook them up to both at the same time, and then they pick it up from one crane to the other crane, and then they drag it across, and then they drop it down here and they build up the rockets. So I've adjusted the width of the transoms by an extra block, which I think makes these rooms look a lot better. Now, one of the problems is I've already built a large chunk of this in survival, so I'm creating myself a lot of rework, but overall, I think it's worth it to get a more accurate build in the end. Here you can see the elevators, and for the elevators, I've decided to match the external size of the elevators rather than the internal size. And I'll need to decide if I want these elevators to be decorative, maybe make them water elevators so I can use them in survival Minecraft, or see if there's even room to make an automated redstone elevator in here, which might be a bit tight, or maybe I'll have to change some of the framing to something that slime blocks won't stick to. So a quick reminder of these rooms inside the transoms is there's this brown and then the white and then the kind of just plain bricks. Then you can see the cable trays coming in across here, which turn the corner here to go around the pillar, I think. So here I've gone for brown concrete for the brown section, quartz bricks, and then stone bricks for the different coloured bricks at the top. You can see the cable trays just starting to kind of play with what this might look like. The elevator doors, I've used mangrove wood for a nice red colour. So coming through to the stairwells, now I've made a design that works really well, and kind of I've got a 2x3 block and I have to go up by 4 floors each time. So I've made a repeating pattern that will just go up. My biggest problem is floor 5, which is not quite even. So I end up with this kind of messy bit here. I'm not really sure what to do, so this will have to do for now. But for every other floor, it's very much just this repeating pattern the whole way up. So that's a reasonable stopping point for now. I'm going to leave you with a little sneak preview of where I'm up to in survival. As always, any feedback, ideas or encouragement that you have, just let me know. And have a great day.
Rework.